And welcome, everyone. We have Dr. Dain Heer with us today for another episode of Being You Changing the World Book Club.
Here. Yee! Yay.
You're here, and then the book is here.
There you go. We're both here.
So we've done, I don't know how many of these we've done. A few.
487.
I don't think you have that many chapters in the book.
Oh, not that many then. I lied. I don't know. Numbers are irrelevant to me. I don't understand them. I don't understand time, and I don't understand numbers, and I don't understand why I don't understand, but I don't understand.
And if anyone can relate to that, you're in the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So today's topic, and all of you on joining from around the world, thank you. We do have translation today, so you can find those links in Facebook.
Yay!
Translated line, which is awesome. And today we will be discussing, well, wherever we go, but the topic of the live today is, what if there's nothing wrong with you?
What?
I know. It's crazy. Which is, I love that the title in the book of the chapter is not that, it's slightly different. It's, I am, therefore I'm wrong, right?
Right.
Which I like that one.
Me too. I do. Yeah. I like that one too.
So you guys please write comments, ask questions, and then we will go where the energy takes us. But with this topic of the idea of what if we weren't wrong, can you talk a little bit about this? Because I want to say that mostly here in the world, we function from the opposite point of view, starting with, I am so wrong, I need to fix myself or something before I choose something different, before I start this, before I go. So how do you even begin to start from the place of, well, if I'm not wrong, then what would I choose?
Well, isn't that the billion-dollar question for those of us watching this, listening to this right now? And the thing is, if you look at this reality, if you look at how kids function, at a certain age, they start making fun of anybody who's different. And every single person watching this is different. Some of them know it, some of them don't. Some of them don't know it because they've done so much to try to fit in that they are like, no, I'm not different. You say, no, I'm not different. And I'm like, thou doth protest too much. Mm-hmm. And so the difference that you are from the norm, that deviation from the norm, that is one of the primary elements of what we consider as somehow a wrongness of us. And so, and we grow up learning that we should fit inside the mold, but there's no mold that will actually fit us. And so this idea that we're wrong seems to be inherent in our very cells. And yet most of us would rather function from there because we know that perspective at this point. And this is one of the other difficult parts. Like you can look and go, okay, well, here's where this developed, here's what's going on. But the thing that actually holds it in place more than anything else is it's our primary reference point for creating our reality. And we don't want to be
like
wrongness. Wrongness. And the thing is, we don't realize how dynamically we're using wrongness as a primary reference point around which everything else spins. And truth is, it would be so uncomfortable for a little while before it got really awesome. Actually, it would be uncomfortable and awesome simultaneously. It'd be terrifying, basically, exciting and terrifying simultaneously for us to let go of the wrongness. Because we don't realize that we do this, but the points of view we take about us. So if you have a sense of wrongness, you compress your world of choice into something that's more manageable, basically. See, this conversation for me has shifted over many years, and next year it'll be different too. This is just the latest iteration of me looking at this with people and also myself, because I grew up thinking I was wrong continuously. And so, but when you do wrongness, rather than having a world of choice where every choice is possible, you compress that into something that seems more manageable.
Well, Well, and one of the things you said in the book about that, which I think a lot of people can relate to, is trying to compress that can often show up with proving that what we are choosing that looks normal like everybody else is true for us and right, to get over that constant state of wrongness. And then you sort of wake up in the position you were in years ago, like, is this even the life I want to be living? Like, why am I here? None of this seems to even pertain to what I desire.
Exactly that. It's like, if this is all there is, why am I here? And so, and so it becomes this journey, and it's got such a depth and a breadth to it, but it can start really easily. You know, like, who or what would I be if I weren't wrong? If I weren't wrong here, what would I choose? If I weren't wrong here, what choices would I have available? If I weren't wrong here, who would I be? And then you could do who, what, where, when, why, and how individually would I be. And you start to realize that wrongness is sort of the one side of polarity that you've used to attract everything to you. And which is really strange. And so what we've got is we got a bunch of reference points, but what we really have is a bunch of presumptive realities about the nature of reality, but are the nature of us relating to reality. In other words, yeah, presumptive reality is where you presume what is, and then you create it because your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view. So you presume, for example, that if you were too much, it would be hurtful for other people. Or if you had too much, they would have less. Or you presume that if you weren't wrong, you'd be an arrogant asshole. And you'd much rather feel like a pathetic weakling than an arrogant asshole, because you don't want to be one of those people. Because you've known a lot of those people, and you know you're not those people, and you presume that if you weren't wrong, you would be one of those people. But that's just a presumption. That's not true. I mean, think about if you've ever had a moment or a sense of not wrongness of you in any way for a few minutes. It's glorious. And you don't think to yourself, oh, who can I go abuse and invalidate? You're like, oh my God, who else can I empower? How much more fun can I bring to the world? How much more fun can we have? You know? So all the presumptive realities y'all have, that of all the bad stuff that will happen if you don't keep having this judgment system of you, all the bad stuff about how you're going to be arrogant, or you're going to destroy the world, or you'd have too much energy, you wouldn't know what to do, or you'd have too much space and too much time on your hands, and things would be too easy. So if you didn't have that handicap, you wouldn't know what to do. Will you destroy and uncreate all that, please?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds.
When you say that, you're like, wow, the amount of energy we take up and use in our lives for that constant state of judgment and wrongness, that it would be so strange to let it go.
I know. And that's exactly what it is it would be so strange to let it go. We would lose, I say once again, we'd lose one of our primary reference points. Yeah. And by the way, we're not wrong for choosing this. We're not wrong for doing it. We're not wrong for continuing to do it, or holding on to it, or letting some of it go and not letting all of it go. It's like, I'm just presenting a different perspective here that it took me a long time and working with a lot of people around the world to get to. But what I like about this awareness as it relates to gifting other people this awareness of we are holding on to it as our primary reference point is that it empowers us. Because a lot of the conversation about wrongness is, look what's being done to us. You know, even in the conversation, if you're different, you're wrong. A lot of people take that to mean people make me wrong for being different. See, they're powerful and I'm wrong and weak and they're doing it to me. No, that's still a choice we're making. So if we can look and recognize, wow, I really love the reference point of wrongness. That's friggin' awesome. That's awesome, because it takes us into the driver's seat of our own life, and we go, oh, and then you could just ask, am I holding some part of this in place? Am I holding all of this in place? And also then a slight bit beyond that, you realize how much wrongness you perceive in the people that you care about, and how much you're trying to take away so they don't feel wrong. Now, if you were really as pathetic as you're pretending to be most of your life, why? Because wrongness and pathetic tend to go together. They're not synonymous, but they tend to be really good friends, okay? So if you're really as wrong and useless and pathetic as you try to pretend you are sometimes, would you take on somebody else's wrongness to try to get them over it? No, you only do that because you know you have the power to. You only do that because you know you can handle it, even if you don't think they can. Well, that's a whole story for another time. But if we can recognize that we have this as our reference point as one thing, we got that as a reference point over the course of our life and being different and all that sort of stuff. We have all these things that we've talked about. And in addition, there's a lot of the wrongness that we think is ours that is because we have tried to take away the wrongness of others because we care so much and because we have so much power.
So can you, with that, and you gave a bunch of questions a little while ago to start changing that reference point. Like, if I weren't wrong, what would I choose here? Can you one of your brilliances is energetically walking us through or delivering the energy of like, can you give us a moment of presence with a question like that, but really being present with it can change everything? Can you kind of walk us through some of those questions and how they unravel when you energetically be present with them and ask them?
Ding. Ding. That was the universe acknowledging, like, now is the time, my people. Actually, what I'd like to do, since you brought up that whole energy thing, and the Being You Changing the World book the bones of it came from transcripts of this class called ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being. And so that's an energetic way that I can contribute to you all. And let's face it, I'm just sort of the funnel for the mouthpiece, the funnel or the mouthpiece for the universe on this one. So what I don't know about you, but I start spacing out a bit when I start this. Mm-hmm. So when you talked about that presence, so what I'd like to do is I don't know if this is actually going to work, by the way, but I don't care. I'm willing to try anything, no matter how weird I look. Because so many times when I try something I've never tried, that I think, okay, if this really doesn't work, I'm gonna look like such an idiot, Because so many times that's when the miracles happen, where you're willing to just jump off the cliff, man.
Well, that is like the willingness to get it wrong.
There you go. That. And I'm telling you, it's been a process for me too. Oh. Okay, so what I'd like to do, if you'll notice, there might be a different space or a headspace or something. Notice whatever you notice. And so I'd like you to think about some wrongness like not one of the major ones, although we could try that, but I'm thinking one of the lighter ones that might be in your world right now about something. Like, oh, I didn't put the toilet seat down. I don't know, whatever. Or in my house, oh shit, I forgot to leave the toilet seat up. Okay. Just kidding. I have a Toto. It's got an electric thing and it puts it up and down for you. You just push a little button and it's so good. Anyway, I digress. Definition of luxury.
An automatic toilet seat. It is.
Automatic toilet seat that also washes your butt. Hello.
You should totally have an affiliate link for that.
Exactly. Toto.com/being you. Oh no, maybe we could write a new book around it and really promote it. Being Pooh, Changing the World.
Totally.
Goodness, the marketing ideas just keep coming. Okay.
Well, they already kind of wrote, there is a kid's book, Everybody Poops.
Oh, that's a good one, by the way.
Yeah, it is a good one.
Yeah. Hey, while we're at it, and I know this is a total non sequitur, but you recommended a documentary that I watched yesterday that is fucking awesome. And it's about being you changing the world. And it's called, what is it called? Pray the Devil Back to Hell?
Yeah.
It is so good. It is about the women in Liberia who end the Civil War. You got to watch it. It's so good. Okay.
Amazing. It's on Amazon and other places.
Yes. Okay. So now that I've been doing the energy while talking about other things, well, it snuck in. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is just get a sense of what of those little wrongnesses. Now, number one, is it still there? And it may not be. That's part of how this works, because wrongness is always a lie. I'm going to say that again in English. Wrongness is always a lie. Wrongness is always a lie.
Dr. Dain?
Great question, Miss Emily. Thank you for asking. It truly is. Okay, so wrongness is always a judgment. Judgment is a lie, always. No judgment is what is. A judgment is a concluded, fixed reality, which the universe does not do. Only people do. No animal on or off the planet judges. No planet judges, no moon judges, no galaxy judges, no supernova judges, no tree, no anything except people judge. And if they stopped, we would have a glorious world. So, I love it. When you started the transmission, my hand was shaking uncontrollably. Yeah. Cool. It's nice to know when people know they're receiving it. It's very helpful. So wrongness is always a lie. So what happens is the way I do everything that I do, including this energetic stuff, when we turn that up a little bit, is by being present with and acknowledging what is, and by facilitating consciousness. And consciousness is where everything exists and nothing is judged. And it's about total awareness. So here's the other interesting part that just got brought up when I said that, is we think that when we think we're wrong, we think we're functioning from awareness. How many of you have misidentified and misapplied that when you're wrong, that's your awareness, and when you're not wrong, you must be missing something. So you're not being aware. Everything that is, all those presumptive realities, and this other thing called the need of reactive realities, which is where anyway, I'll just say that. We just try to uncreate all that, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds.
Can you elaborate that on a bit more? Because you talk about in that book the difference between awareness and like judgment, or what we think is real or positive. You know, we think every negative thing is a judgment rather than awareness.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. So we have the idea that if we ever see anything limited or what we would call negative about somebody, like, oh, they're selfish, oh, they're stealing from you, oh, they're abusing you, whatever, we think we're judging. But in actuality, oftentimes those are awarenesses we're having, but then we cut off that awareness because we don't want to be judgmental, because we've learned this weird point of view that, and sorry, let me go back. So we think if we only see positive things, then we're not judging. But a lot of times those positive things are you cutting off your awareness of what you call the negative things, so you can prove that you're not a judgmental person. Why do you want to do that? So you're not wrong. Because judgmental people are wrong. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. This was a huge thing for me to get, because when I came to Access, part of my problem was I saw all these people as sweet beings of light embodied, and all their problems and all their meanness, they would never do that if they were really, if they hadn't been so abused. And so I'm making reasons and justifications for them being mean and abusive to other people and myself. And it was one of the big things that stuck me, because I would have these people do these mean things and it felt like it was a dagger in my heart. And I was like, how do I deal with this? And when I met Gary, he said, okay, so tell me about this person. I went, well, they're this and there's sweetness and they've, had a tough life, and I totally understand. And sometimes they do not nice things. And that was kind of my energy around it, right? And Gary went, whoa, wait a minute. How much are you trying to cover up what you are aware of rather than just stating it? Is this person selfish? Yes. Is this person mean? Well, yeah, they act mean sometimes. He said, yeah. So are they mean? I went, well, yeah, most of the time, actually, to most people. He's like, okay. He's like, what if you're not wrong for that? What if that's your awareness of where they are choosing to function? And I went, what? I was like, but Gary, I just want to see the beauty in people. Because if I see the beauty, that's what will show up. He's like, how's that working for you, kid? He's like, you're looking at the beauty in your ex-fiance. When was the last time the beauty showed up? And I went, oh, the first time we went out and had sex. And after that, it was judgment after judgment after judgment after judgment. And I was like, oh my God. And I turned to him, I said, Gary, she's been judging me ever since then. You know, I had this big awareness, and he was like, yeah, you are correct. He said, so is she a judgmental person? I went, oh yeah. And he's like, let me ask you, are you judging her right now? And I went, no, because what's true makes you lighter, a lie makes you heavier. So I was actually like, wow. And I started getting so much lighter when I acknowledged what was. And then I realized, wow, I'm not actually judging this person. I am just aware of their world, and I'm aware of the energy. And that's all it is. It's the energy. It's where they're choosing to function. It doesn't even mean anything. And I got so much lighter because I thought, and here's the other thing that sticks us, I thought that my choice was to be judgmental of them and separate and be a bad person, or see only the good in them, even when there was very little in some people, and be a good person. And I thought those were my two choices. And I thought if I was judging somebody, I was being bad and wrong and judgmental. And so what that was doing was keeping me from the awareness that I could have all of these awarenesses and it didn't mean anything. I would just know what they were going to show up as most of the time. But I wouldn't even come to conclusion. I'd just be like, oh, this person tends to be judgmental, mean, whatever. Oh my goodness, the lightness that came to my world, it was so amazing. And it is taking me it took years to get to actual allowance of what I was aware of. Yeah. But it really got me out of a huge amount of judgment of me when I went, oh, okay. I don't have to try to make myself unaware to not be wrong and to not be a judgmental person. I'm actually not judging. I'm aware, and it's okay.
Well, with that, it's funny because we start like with that, we're always trying to make that what is an actual awareness about someone when it's maybe is that they're judgmental or mean into it, we must be judging. But then we're sitting here thinking every time we're thinking we're wrong must be an awareness and true. It's like reversed. So did you find when you got more clarity on that, were you then able to see you like without the constant state of judgment and wrongness?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up and put it in that perspective, because that's the exact things that's easy for me to say in English. That's the exact thing that starts to happen is, see, when you're lying to yourself about the energetics of what you're aware of, and we're all energetic, whether we know it or not. I thought I was not energetic. I thought I didn't get energy. I thought everybody else around me did. They got energy, and because they'd be like, oh, it feels like it's burning inside, and I was like, oh my God, I don't get this at all, because for me, I was like, oh, I think I feel a little chill, maybe maybe that's just the hair stuck on my shirt. I don't know. Okay. But we're all energetically aware, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. That may be a story for another time. But when you're continuously calling white black and black white, in looking at yourself, you apply a similar standard, but you apply even more of an intense standard for you. We have so many major standards for ourselves. And a lot of that is once again, what we've learned, also these presumptive realities, and that's going to create something for us or others, or at least make it so we don't limit others with our terribleness. You know, if I can judge how wrong I am, then I won't limit others with my terribleness, which is really, to me, one of the saddest things in the world, that so many of us have this deep-seated belief that we are wrong, terrible, bad, vicious, mean, awful, evil, and dark. And the only people I've ever met that have that underlying belief about themselves are the people that are not. The people that really are evil, like you ever meet somebody who's truly evil, they're not like, oh my God, I'm so evil inside.
Or like in that documentary, great example.
Great example.
Who was the president? Yeah.
Yeah, no, great friggin' example. That guy's like,
I'm great.
I'm great. And this is where we also get screwed up. So let me try to summarize the answer to your question. We do finally start getting aware. It still takes a while, though, because we have such an insistence that we must be wrong and that we must hide here. Oh, well, this is interesting. Not a conversation I've been able to have outside of a class, an in-depth class with people before. But basically, the idea is we've got this idea that we must hide this thing that is so dark, terrible, vicious, mean, awful, and evil about us. And yet what we're actually hiding is what is so incredibly beautiful that just by its opening in existence in the world would change the world, would change everybody around us. And that is the beauty within us, but that is the beauty we are. But that is what we have misidentified and misapplied as what must be hidden at all costs, what must be covered with wrongness, what must be covered with pathetic, because somewhere we know if we let that out, we wouldn't have any problems. We wouldn't have any need to cover ourselves up. And we would be a power and potency that would change the world for the greater, for everyone. Everything that is times a godzillion. I can't believe I just said that on a thing. I am so grateful to be able to say that because for me, if I go to say something and it's like, no, it doesn't read energetically, I can't, it leaves my head. But so everything that is, everywhere, what you've been hiding with your wrongness and your sense of judgment of you, and what you were convinced, this is not just like a little mental thing like, oh, I think I'm wrong, whatever. This is like at the core of your being. Your being doesn't actually have a core, but let's call it that because people like to talk about shit like that. So at the very fiber of your being is the idea that you were wrong. So everything that is, everything you aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to that allows that to exist, all of the need of reactive realities in this, which we call NORs. So we have PRs, the presumptive realities. We have need of reactive realities, which is where we give people the reaction they require, and we need them to give us a right reaction to know that we're going where we want to go, which is all presumptive. How fun. And then there's a thing called NOR slime that we just found, which is the need for reactive response systems. And that, I do believe, is a major part of this idea of us being so bad, terrible, vicious, wrong, awful, and evil. Everything that is, everything you've aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to, everything that allows it to exist, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds.
Well, can I just say, you mentioned like when you see things as black that are white and white that are black, and what you think is wrong and evil, which is actually your greatness. And then someone put a question here. Can you talk about turning your wrongness into a strongness? And one of the age-old basic newbie tools in Access is the crazy phrase. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. And it's funny, the book starts with the crazy phrase.
Yeah. Yep.
just to get people in the right mood. And it is, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And so when you say this phrase, what happens is when you're doing crazy reverse crap, say the crazy phrase until your head pops out of your butt. You'll hear a sound. It'll be like, okay. And okay, you won't really hear a sound. That was a joke. But you'll get a sense of space once you have, because what it does, it takes you out of where you're being cray to yourself and others. Okay. And when you're in the wrongness of you, there's a lot of things you can do, but the crazy phrase can be really helpful. Because a lot of times, the other thing about wrongness, and once again, how do you get to strongness? Well, the entire conversation that we've had, and use the tools that we've given so far. But the thing about wrongness is it's not logical. It's not logical. It's not like you keep looking for, why am I wrong today? Except, dude, on any given day, there's 10 billion reasons that you could just draw upon. And that's what you do. You keep them out here because, once again, as I said before, conversation I haven't been able to have with very many people yet, we're using it as our primary reference point to navigate our reality. And once again, where we went to was where you said, how do we be with it? And we started a bit of ESB, and then we went around and around to some beautiful, amazing places. But if I weren't wrong, who would I be? If I weren't wrong, what would I be? If I weren't wrong, what would I choose? If I were right, and another great question, what's right about me I'm not getting? And about a situation, what's right about this I'm not getting? Now, a lot of you might go, but you said right and wrong are judgments. Yeah, but when you're doing wrongness and you ask what's right about this, you'll then see what is actually possible there, because you're not going to judge it. You're not going to do right from judgment in that case, because right as a judgment is always a proof that it's right. And what you're doing is coming out of the proof that it's wrong into the space of awareness of what it actually is. When you say, what's right about this, I'm not getting.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you mention in the book, and you say, and the book is called, Being You, Changing the World. And you said that one of the greatest keys, or the greatest key to being you, is to perceive, know, be, and receive you, yourself, with no judgment. And I'd love you to, like you mentioned earlier, you started this ESB energy, and it's like how I perceive that some of the times, or all the time in this conversation, at least, it like allows us to unlearn this constant without having to think about unlearning it, like cognitively. It like evaporates this system that we've been running on without having to figure it out.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that and how that opens us up to this world of perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving us as us, without filters, without judgment, without the heaviness?
Well, so an infinite being, if you're truly being the being you are, you perceive infinitely. You know infinitely, you receive infinitely, and you be everything. Okay? Or you have the choice to be everything, I should say. And so when you do this, it's got a space to it. And you as a being have a lot of space. And, ask people, like right now, expand out a mile in all directions, including down into the earth, and notice what that's like. Oh, cool. Okay, now 10 miles. Notice what that's like. Okay, now 100 miles. And notice what that's like. Cool. Gets less defined as you go further out. But for a lot of you, it might be a sense of, now if you go to 1,000 miles in all directions, and notice what that's like. And you start yawning, because it's like, space, And now 10,000, notice what that's like. Now, a lot of times at about between 1,000 and 10,000 miles, people's minds kind of go, I don't know if I'm doing it. And that's because your mind has to let go because you can't figure that shit out with your mind. Mm-mm. But you can ask. So now expand out so you're at least the size of the earth. And while you're there, say hi to the earth. And notice that the earth has so many people, so many points of view, so many things going on. But reach deep down into the earth and notice what it has going on. Is it thinking? No. Is it judging? Is the earth like, oh my God, my equator has gotten so big and I think I'm having hot flashes. They're calling it global warming. I think I'm just going through menopause. I'm not sure. I don't know, you know? No. The earth is there going, I be. And the earth is aware of everything, perceives it all energetically. And it sounds funny to some people to talk about the earth in this way because people want to act like it doesn't exist or, you know, the earth is just a planet for us to use. No, it's not. It's a massive consciousness. Okay? And it's not separate. Like there's the consciousness of the earth that is not separate from the consciousness of the trees, that is not separate from the consciousness of the oceans, it is not separate from the consciousness of the dolphins, it is not separate from the consciousness of us when we're choosing to be conscious. Okay, so anyway, we also have a sense of that when we're truly being us. And so the earth is infinitely perceiving. It perceives everything going on, it just has no point of view. In other words, it's got these elements of infinite being. And so the reason I bring all of this up, even though it can sound a little, I don't know, energetic or airy-fairy or something, you know, because even though I talk a lot about energetic stuff, for me, it's got to be pragmatic. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, why the hell are we talking about it? You know, if it doesn't change my life or change the world for greater, why are we having the conversation? Anyway, I digress. But so in this case, you realize that when you be that, you can be this much space, you can tap into the earth and the earth will always show you what's possible. But also it's like earth, let's ask this right now too. And I'll try to tie this together. Wish me luck. Earth, what can we contribute to you? Now, this is interesting because so many times you ask that and you feel this energy come into your body. And we think contribution is from me to you. If I'm contributing to you, that's it. But what if contribution is also receiving the gift that you are? And that's really tough to do. It's tough to be the gift that we are, and it's tough to receive the gift that we are if we're functioning from judgment, right and wrong, wrongness of us, that sort of thing. But if we ask Earth, what contribution can we be? So right now, as we ask that, it's like, wow, okay, cool. I did a live today there's some beautiful ladies in Israel that are doing running some of these processes actually with people, and they've been doing it for the last 18 days. And I did one today with them that was so beautiful, and it was about bringing the communion to the world again, where there is no separation based on country, culture, religion, sex, color, creed, whatever. And we'll find a way to offer that to people. I'm not quite sure how we do that, but we can find a way by the end of the live. Let's do that. But it was just that sense of that communion that we all share when we're being us, in conjunction with the communion of the earth. It's like when we're being us, I just gotta say, it's like living is so beautiful, we almost can't fathom it. Like we can't fathom how phenomenal it can be to be alive when we're being us. And it's weird to say when we're being us, because it's like, and so really what I mean by that is when we are willing to choose to be what we actually are, is so beautiful. Whew.
And can I say pragmatic, like you were saying, Because you give all of this, the pragmatics of being you and how beautiful and ease all of that can be, you know, versus you say in the book, one of the saddest things is that we so have learned to judge, and that's supposed to be pragmatic, and how to create and how we're supposed to go about creating the right life and to be happy when we get the right X, Y, and Z. And we're not shown the pragmatics of, hey, if you dissolve the judgment, here's what's possible and way easier.
That. And it's like you dissolve the judgment and you dissolve the wrongness, you dissolve the need to be normal, and miracles are all that is left.
I'll have that, please.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, you know, you mentioned that, like, the need to be normal, and goodness, like judgment being such a part of that, like how we function. And one of the sections of the book that you talk about, which is really a conversation designed to create a lot of freedom around not judging how different we are and that we're not normal, is you talk about cow people and horse people, and how that awareness of, are you a horse person? Are you a cow person? And that difference, that it's just different. You might be different. And can you talk a little bit about that in regards to judging ourselves, in like that allowance of just being us, so we can have that ease of showing up in the world as us?
Yeah. So, you know, I think a lot of us have noticed for a long time that there are certain people that are really interested in growth and change. And then there are certain people that are not only not in there, and then there's a lot of people who are not interested at all. And you try to present to them your newest idea, your newest thing. And they're always like, why do you do all this weird shit? Can't you just like go take a pill or something? Like, come on, you know, like,
just be happy with where you are, what you got.
Can't you be happy being as unhappy as I am? You know, because so many of them, all they do, a lot of them just complain, but they never change anything. And so from a place of non-judgment, then from a place of awareness, the natural question is, what the heck is going on here? And it became really clear at one point many years ago that there just appear to be two totally different species on the planet. Now, am I saying literal species? I don't know. I'm just saying it's easier to look from this place, okay? And if you go into psychology, they will say one of the hottest areas of study for a little while was in neurodynamics and neuroplasticity and all these big words that I don't know how to say it in English. But one of the things they were talking about was, in one of these studies, they found that there are certain people, about 50% of the population, that I think they called them change averse, where they're not interested in change. They don't like change. If you try to bring change to them, they will hate you, and they will tell you how wrong you are, and they will try to destroy you if they can, some of them, okay? That's the furthest example, right? And then there's some people, I forget the way that they described it, but it was basically like people who actually seek change, people who actually desire it, right? So there's like change averse and change seeking, let's say. And so basically the change averse people are the cows. The change seeking people are more like the horses. Because a cow in a pasture is like, okay, I'm going to choose some grass, and then I'm going to be turned into hamburger. Okay, thank you very much. You know, they're like, not a lot of other interest in other activities. You know what I'm saying? You know, and the mamas will take care of their babies, but that's about it. And they're like, okay, let's walk over here really slowly together, you know. And then you have horses. Horses are like, oh my God, I want to run, I want to jump, I want to play, I want to run, I want to jump, I want to play, I want to run, I want to jump, I want to play, I want to have sex, I want to run, I want to jump, I want to play, you know. And so we realized that, you know, this idea of two different species, the cow people are what we call humans. The horse people are what we call humanoids, because it sounds, you know, entertaining.
Like superheroes, kind of.
What's that?
Like a superhero name.
Yeah, totally. And also it brings up the thing, because here's the thing that we have to recognize is the whole idea of having this conversation in the first place was because the humans never judge themselves, okay? The change averse people, the cow people, they never judge themselves. They're never wrong for anything they choose. But you, when you do your weird thing, you are wrong. See, you can see somebody doing a weird thing and not judge them for doing a weird thing. Because like, oh, you got your own weird thing. Oh, that's cool. You can see somebody going and doing a normal thing and go, okay, well, you're doing a normal thing. Okay, cool. But what?
Well, yeah, well, I was just going to say, but with that, it's like I don't look at the cow. I do look at the cow, or always like, why can't I just be happy chewing grass? Like judging ourselves so much for not being that.
Yeah. And that's where one of the big sources of wrongness comes from, which is why I started at the beginning saying one of our sources of wrongness is how different we are. Yeah. And so that recognition that there are just some people that are wired totally differently, and they're not wrong and you're not wrong. There are also a lot of those people that will try to make you wrong because you do not understand that you should be more normal. You know, you'll have your family who does whatever their family thing is, or whatever their church thing is, or whatever their, religious thing is. And at a certain point, you're like, I'm not going to go. And then they tell you how you're going to hell and all that sort of stuff, And you look at that, you're like, wow. And just ask yourself, okay, what would I do in this case? Would I try to tell people they're going to hell, or would I say, hey, we'll miss you, but take care? That's the difference. And so, but one of the other things that can be very helpful in this is, once again, we live in a world that tries to get us to judge and separate from each other all the time. And it's based on, I'll separate from you because I'm wrong, or I'll separate from you because you're wrong, which is, okay, crazy. Are there peacock people? Yes, us, yay. Okay. Yeah. If you're asking, you're definitely one of those peacock people. Okay. And this is why we call it horse people and cow people, humans and humanoids, because hopefully you can't make that shit significant. Yeah. The whole idea of the conversation is to get you out of the wrongness, because you're not what people call normal. And somebody said on here at the very beginning, there is no normal. I'm like, I agree with that. And yet, yes, there fucking is. This entire world has a standard of normal that nobody talks about. Everybody just acts as though it is. So there's a lot of standards of normal. So anyway, when you're not, you tend to feel wrong a lot, but that difference is actually the gift of you. And one of the other elements is, we think in order to have, if you're one of these weirdo humanoids, you're one of these horse people, if you're one of these change seekers, weirdo, how dare you? Okay. If you're one of those people, what happens is, a lot of times you think that in order to have your reality, you need to exclude others, exclude this reality, exclude normal, no, because or we think we need to include it in all of my choices, and I must look through this reality first and look through this person's world first. No, all you got to do is, you don't have to include it as a reference point for your choice. In order to be you, though, just don't exclude it, and don't exclude you. So you don't have to exclude this reality. You don't have to exclude anything in it. You don't have to exclude any of the people. You just don't have to buy their shit. You don't have to buy anybody's judgment, including yours, but you don't have to buy anybody's judgment. You don't have to be inclusive of their judgment in your choices. You just have to not be exclusive of them, because that takes you away from the oneness that you are. And then the other biggest part is, we've got to get over our desires for other people to choose things that they don't want to choose. Because it's one of the other biggest sources of wrongness of us. How could they suffer this much? Oh my God. No, you know what? You have no idea what they've got going on. Be kind enough to them not to judge them for their suffering. Be kind enough to you not to judge you for not being able to change it and not being able to get them to make a different choice. And bring some kindness to this world, which acknowledges what they're choosing without a judgment, without a point of view that they should change it, or they're wrong or you're wrong, and with an acknowledgement of, you know what, I care for you so much, I will contribute anything when you're ready and you actually ask for it and are willing to have it.
That's so beautiful. And can I ask you, I'm really glad you brought up not having to include everything in all the judgments. In order to exclude, do you have to do judgment? And is that part of why it separates you from you?
Exactly that. In order to exclude, you have to do judgment. And whenever you're judging, you're separate from the infinite being you are. It's like this, and we even have this process for, let's do it. Okay. So we have this, it's a really quick thing, but science tells us, and science and energy tell us, okay. Science will tell us that the photon can either be a wavelength or a particle. And what happens is, if you look at the way we create reality as separate from time is separate, each moment is separate, each of us is separate, each physical thing is separate, each molecule is separate. And so that's functioning from an electromagnetic point of view of reality, it is what it is, okay? But there's a way in which you can actually embrace more of the oneness, the connection with everything. And so I'm going to ask you to do this. Bring the photon wavelength energy into your body. And it's an interesting thing, once again, to talk about this too. I wonder what's going on. Because, I do realize how weird it can sound. I know how weird I would have thought it was years ago too. So I get it. It's fine. Just go or don't, your choice. So bring this, just ask for the photon wavelength energy. Bring that into your body. And then just be with it for a moment. And then we're going to do something called a 10. And a 10 is, you're just going to gather all the energy and just go and when you get to 10, just go boom. And kind of share it with your world and the world. Share it with your life. Think of everything going on in your world. And then also spread it out over the entire earth. So bring the photon wavelength energy into your body. I agree. The more I do this, the better it gets. True story. Photon wavelength energy into your body. And now we're going to do on 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay. Whew.
I felt dizzy. I was like, and I'm going to tip over.
Yeah. Me too. I was like, okay, I'm done talking. Wow. Mm-hmm. So this is another tool, by the way. And what I suggest to people is ask for that photon wavelength energy to come into your body, bring it into your body every morning or whenever during the day, every morning, and bring it into your body and just get a sense of it, and then do some 10s. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And it's been amazing. I was reacquainted with this tool over the weekend before last at the body whispering class that I did. And we had everybody do it. And within 2 days, it's like, I can't even describe it. It's like everything softens somehow. It's like you start to get this sense of communion.
Well, yeah. And with that one, a couple of the questions that were coming in right as you were doing that were about, how do I stop judgment? Seems like going to loop. And then you start that 10. I don't know if you want to talk about that tool. And yeah, that's such a beautiful, it just started to dissolve everything.
That. And so one thing you want to recognize is the more present you are with creating your life, the less judgment you do of yourself. Now, that's one sentence that I want to linger in your world forever. Okay. because look at this for a moment. So see, there's the energetics of this. There's also, and along with that are the pragmatics of it. So there are the energetic things that we can do, which is like every time it comes up, who does this belong to? Pock and pod this, return it to sender, pock and pod all the PRs and the NORs, all these things we talked about. Okay. Oh, I love it. I'm making it rain. We're making it rain in Mumbai, people. It never rains like here in Mumbai at this time of year. Woo! Awesome. Okay. That's great. And that's just one of the things that we can create by contributing each other, by contributing together. So we have those things that I just ran through really quickly, and they're all tools you find in Access classes, Access books, the Being You book, yeah. And what?
They're all in the Being You book.
They're all in the Being You book there, Bubba. And so the 10 is a photon wavelength that you can use to melt things. And so with this, then, how do you stop the loop of self-judgment? Number one, stop. See a hand, see a stop sign, go, no matter what the fuck it takes, I'm not doing this anymore. Enough. And you don't even know who you're talking to, but if you say it that strongly, whoever it is going to be like, all right, even if it's you. Okay. Have the kindness to you to get your panties in an uproar when you're judging yourself. Stop it. Okay, so that's first. So that's making the choice. And then you go, okay, so you could say, who does this belong to? Like, is this even mine? Pock and pot all the presumptive realities, all the nors and the nor slime, the need of reactive realities and the other thing. Okay. And people who want this defined, come to an Access class. Okay. Because we're getting to the point where no more defining of these things. Because we got to go soon. Okay. But then also a couple other things can be really extremely friggin' helpful in actually getting over your self-judgment is write down the number one thing that you still have not done that you know you need to do. Whether that's clean out your closet, fire your gardener, I don't know, fire your ex, whatever, I don't know. Okay. The number one thing you need to do that you haven't done that is hanging over your head like smelly kangaroo balls in your face all the time. Okay. And do it. And then write down a few more and do those and start doing those things. You're going to notice as you start to do those things, there's a huge amount of what you were using to judge you going away. And it's when you actually get toward getting close to getting rid of your backlog, like taxes, for example, when you're getting close to getting rid of your backlog, you're going to start to feel really strange. You're going to start to feel like you don't have reference points. You're going to start to feel like, oh no, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do with my time? What am I going to do with my energy? And that's when you're going to realize what I was talking about before. We use our wrongness as one of our primary reference points, even though we'd all like to say, oh, I don't like when I'm doing wrongness. You may not like it, but you fucking love it because you keep doing it because it gives you a reference point for navigating your entire reality. So then after some of this, then the next thing that you do is go, okay, what else am I making myself wrong for? And what are my reasons and justifications for judging myself? And go through that list and see, is it mine or did I buy it from somebody else? And pock and pod the shit out of that shit because you don't deserve that shit. Stop eating shit.
And can I just say, you have a lot of these tools you are spouting out. You have so many. And we recently came out with a new free app for Being You.
Oh,
where
yeah.
You have like all sorts of things in there, like your emergency toolkit, your this. So if you guys haven't downloaded the free app, check it out. It's awesome. And it's also coming very soon is International Being You Day in May, on May 22nd. And like all the updates, and there's going to be cool challenges and things you can find in the app as well. So download it if you haven't. And then I also just wanted to mention too, as you did go into a bit of presumptive realities, native reactive realities, a lot of the tools in this hour-long Zoom. But if you guys have not experienced a class live with Dr. Dain or online, you have one of your only classes that does not have a prereq coming up, being You Changing the World. Anyone can come. You can actually find the classes at the beingyoubook.com website. It's translated in every language. And it's your next class is May 12th to 14th in Madrid, Spain, and online. So I just wanted to mention that because it's a really cool possibility to be with you or online if you're totally new to this stuff too, or if you're totally not new.
True story. And the wonderful part about it is the people that are new get something that's amazing, and the people that are not new get something that's amazing. You know, it meets you where you are, and come and play, because we're going to have a good old time. And I wonder what other tools and awarenesses I will have accumulated by that time in my life.
I wonder.
Me too. And I want to say about the Being You app, it's not one of those, it's a free app and then it's $19.95 to see the video. No, it's a free friggin' app. Okay, it's called Pay It Forward, baby. This universe has been an amazing gift. And these tools have been such an amazing gift to so many of us. And this thing was a labor of love. And I want to thank everybody that helped create it. And it's wonderful. Please go check it out. It's just, it's there for you. It's there as our gift to you and the honoring of you and the invitation to you to have way more fun than you think is possible.
Thank you so much, Dain, for the conversation, you, the book, all of the everything. And thank you, translators who are on and everybody who's watching from around the world and who will watch the replay and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. And I second that. Thank you to you and the translators. Let's give the translators a hand, even though it's just you and me clapping on screen. And around the world energetically, okay? We are like translator clap. It's better than a seal clap even. There you go. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.